Welcome to Zamość. This is the famous Paduan town in Poland, which is also the very rich merchant young Zamośki's fairy tale-like city in his hometown, and this town was constructed on the other half of the 16th century, and it was probably the only example of the Renaissance town which exists in this area from that period of time. And to commemorate this legacy, this town was granted as a Unesco World Cultural Heritage around 1992. Back in the 16th century, upon the time when Zamość was founded, the patron young Zamoyski was head of the army of Poland-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Like many other aristocrats, he was educated in the most prominent universities in Italy, France, and Germany. Mr. Zamoyski was the product of the extravagant Renaissance period. When he studied in University of Padua, he was immensely impressed by the classic idea of an ideal town, in which qualities such as functionality, safetiness, resident friendliness, and beauty are equally acknowledged. The meaning of rationality was never a compromise between practicality and exquisity, rather a vivacious silhouette of the most inventive ideas of the human history. The old town was exactly 600 meters long and 400 meters wide. There are altogether 250 well-constructed tenement houses, most of which have meticulously well-decorated facades. The Reynek, meaning the square, is the center of the whole enterprise. This marketplace is exactly 100 meters wide on each side and is surrounded by arcades. Complete religion freedom was already granted in Zamość in the middle of the 16th century. Orthodox churches, Catholic cathedrals, and Jewish synagogues existed side by side. Zamość was the religious, culture, and trade center along the caravan route between Europe and the Black Sea coast. In the time when the blood-stained Spanish Inquisition was at its heyday, merchants from Caucasus, Greek islands, and northern Scandinavia came here to trade with businessmen from Russia and Central Asia. Wealth, as well as knowledge and ideas, poured into this multi-ethnic society in a fast speed. I'm standing inside the old synagogue, which was erected around the 16th century here in Zamość. And at that time, most Jews who arrived to Zamość were actually the Jews who were persecuted by the Spanish king and queen Ferdinand and Isabella. They moved via Netherlands, Italy to contemporary Ukraine in Lviv in Galicia, and a small population moved here to Zamość. When the town was founded, Ashkenazi Jews was in preponderance in this area, that is the German Jews who spoke Yiddish, well-educated and destitute Sephardic Jews who lost both their business and real estates after they stubbornly refused to convert themselves into Catholic Christians in Andalusia were forced to move away again in order to preserve the last drop of dignity in life. At last, they migrated up to the soil where their Torah, Tillamook and the edifice of Jewish virtues, and hoped that they would be able to find their blessing in this liberal and prosperous ideal town. In comparison with the many Mediterranean countries, Jews enjoyed the same privilege as any other local residents. Many assiduous and well-connected Sephardic Jews flourished through trade and manufacturing. Zamość was also the most important center of Haskalah, meaning the Jewish Enlightenment, in the 17th and 18th century. Before the outbreak of the Second World War, the Jewish industrialists controlled more than 80% of the local trade in Zamość. Is a multicultural society a possible scenario? The prosperous history of Zamość has explained for us that a multicultural society is probably the key point to a prosperous society. Armenian merchants and Greek businessmen helped the city to develop through trade with as far as Middle East, and the very well-educated Spanish Jew came here with both knowledge and, most of all, a new way of doing business. And this fantastic place is just a wonderful example that shows we need tolerance, we need to be open to each other, we need to embrace our differences. By embracing our differences, we learn how to live a life through another point of view. Hence, our society could be much richer, could be much nicer, and most of all, we can create a much higher life quality for each other by tolerating each other's so-called eccentricities. The art of traveling for us is about finding a new concept of life and happiness without lampooning the intricate historical misfortunes or suggesting any amelioration guideline to all sorts of contemporary problems we have seen in our short journey. By enjoying the uniqueness of each town, we often find fantastic salvations to our own daily solicitudes in the most unexpected places. When we gazed upon the gorgeous townhouse tower amidst loads of Japanese tourists who would like to capture all splendor with their photo camera, I suddenly felt disappointed and sad at the same time. As the crowd moved from one tourist attraction they found on their map to the next, very few travelers took a while to get to know the contemporary Zamość, as if the colorful baroque housing are the only target in their journey. Most of all, we were just as narrow-minded as most tourists, who were too busy to catch their own perfect Kodak moments. I also find out that this was the moment I proved to myself again how inadequate I really am from time to time. Albeit I always thought we get to know a country by traveling from one place to another. This was also the occasion I freed myself from my own anxiety over other people's lack of commitment, patience, and understanding in both my professional life and my private sphere.